In a tense and complicated situation, Marchetti is facing an inevitable storm. The situation becomes serious when Lauren Fenmore, a strong and calm woman in every situation, begins to lose patience with her husband, Michael Baldwin. Meanwhile, an underground war is taking place in the Baldwin family, when Michael decides to approach Jack Abbott, one of Victor Newman's biggest rivals. However, this action may mark a betrayal in Victor's eyes, and the consequence is an extreme resentment from this crime boss. Lauren worries about Michael, not only because of the tense relationship between him and Victor, but also because she knows that any wrong move can bring unforeseen consequences. Meanwhile, Michael, with a risky plan, tries to keep his spirits up and fight to achieve the best outcome for both families. He tries to convince Lauren that meeting Jack is a necessary strategy in this battle, even if it puts him in danger. Lauren, who knows Victor's tricks, warns her husband that this action will not only be detrimental to him, but will also put Michael and Victor's relationship in an irreparable state. She knows that once Victor senses betrayal, his anger will be unstoppable, and the consequences may be irreversible. Victor, who has always considered Michael to be part of his grand plan, begins to lose faith in him. His doubts about Michael's loyalty deepen, especially when he constantly opposes Victor's decisions. Michael's actions seem to confirm that Victor cannot continue to trust the person he once considered a trusted partner. As things get worse, Michael is faced with a harsh truth: he will have to make a choice, and siding with Victor is not always the wise choice. Victor's paranoid accusations, blaming Michael for his recent failures, only add to the tension. Michael realizes that his next actions will determine his fate, Lauren's fate, and the fate of the Baldwin family. In this war, it is not just a fight between families, but a choice between loyalty and survival. Michael faces one of the most difficult decisions of his life. Will he remain loyal to Victor, who has guided him for years, or will he choose a different path, confronting the boss to protect his family and his conscience? The crisis at Marchetti will not only be a test for Michael, but also a test of his relationship with Lauren. Both will face difficult decisions and deal with the wrath of Victor, who will never forgive betrayal. Meanwhile, Lauren, while concerned for her husband's safety, knows that there are times when loyalty is no longer the only option. The clash between Victor and Michael is approaching, and no one knows who will emerge victorious. The relationship between Michael and Victor, now fractured, could lead to a dramatic confrontation where the price of betrayal could be life. The Marchetti crisis is approaching like an unstoppable storm. Standing in the middle of the storm is Michael Baldwin, who seems to have lost control in a relentless tug-of-war. What happened to make things so tense? And how could this crisis destroy the stability Michael has built over the years? Lauren Fenmore, Michael's powerful wife, begins to feel anxiety rising in her heart as she watches her husband become more and more estranged. Michael, who was always clear-headed and decisive, has now begun to lose himself in a maze of risky decisions. This change makes Lauren, despite being a strong and determined woman, unable to help but fear for the future of their family. Since Victor Newman entered Michael's life, everything has become more complicated. Victor, a kingpin in the criminal world, has never been predictable. The relationship between him and Michael was once so strong, like an unbreakable alliance, but it seemed like things were changing. Victor no longer trusted Michael as before. Michael's recent actions made Victor feel betrayed, and that was something Victor could never accept. Things started to get more serious when Michael decided to contact Jack Abbott, one of Victor's biggest enemies. Jack, as the head of the Abbott Corporation, was not only a competitor but also a very influential person in the business world. The meeting between Michael and Jack could be a strategic move, a move that Michael thought was necessary to protect the Baldwin family's interests and grow stronger in the war with Victor. However, in Victor's eyes, it was a betrayal. And when Victor felt betrayed, his anger knew no bounds. Lauren saw this, and she could not sit still. She knew the consequences of these actions, and as a woman who had been through many trials in life, Lauren understood that nothing was impossible when it came to Victor Newman. She warned Michael that this action would not only be detrimental to him, but would also put them in an irreparable situation. The relationship between Victor and Michael would never be the same, and any move at this point could send them back to the same old rut. However, Michael was not so easily swayed. He convinced Lauren that meeting Jack Abbott was part of his long-term strategy. He wanted to protect his family, wanted to ensure that in this war, not only the Baldwin family but also the Abbott family would have a chance to develop, and of course, he hoped that there would be a change in the balance of power between the powerful families in Genoa City. But Lauren, with her shrewdness, knew that things were not that simple. Betrayal in Victor's eyes can never be forgiven, and once he senses the threat, the consequences are unimaginable. Victor begins to doubt every decision Michael makes. The doubts grow in his heart, and it seems that every contact with Michael is scrutinized by him. Even the smallest decisions Michael makes can be seen as betrayal by Victor. This makes the relationship between the two even more tense and unstable. Victor no longer sees Michael as a trustworthy partner, but as someone who can betray him at any time. In his current situation, Michael cannot help but rethink what he has done. He has gone too far and reached a crossroads from which there is no turning back. Victor's paranoid accusations make Michael face a harsh truth: he may have lost everything. One of the worst things was that Michael knew that no matter what he did, Victor would never forgive him for the betrayal he felt. Every decision Michael made now could be the last straw, and the consequences were unpredictable. Lauren, seeing the confusion in her husband's eyes, could no longer contain herself. She knew that Michael was in a battle he could not win. Although she loved Michael, love could not be saved once trust was eroded. Lauren understood that Michael was at a crossroads, and the choice he made would determine everything. Would he remain loyal to Victor, the man who had helped him achieve his career success, or would he choose a different path, confronting the man he once called an ally? Meanwhile, Victor is not sitting still. He begins to plot how to deal with what he sees as a betrayal. Victor will never let Michael escape his control without paying a price. This war has gone beyond a family or business fight. It is a fight for control over everything from power to survival. Things will come to a head. When Victor discovers what Michael has been doing behind his back, a confrontation between the two will be inevitable. It will be a battle where the price of betrayal could be life. And in the meantime, Lauren will have to face a painful reality: her husband may never be the same again. The decisions Michael is making may not only destroy his career but also end a long-standing relationship between these two powerful families. The Marchetti crisis has officially begun, and no one can predict the outcome. Michael, Lauren, and Victor each face difficult choices, and only time will tell if betrayal is truly the price to pay in this war. Life in Genoa City is full of secrets, intrigue, and clandestine wars between powerful families. One of the most notable wars today is not the war between corporations, but the bloody war within the Abbott family itself, especially between Kyle Abbott, Claire, and Victor Newman. A man with boundless power in the world of crime and business. In this war, one name that cannot be ignored is Audra. The powerful female warrior who agreed to be Victor's henchman in an effort to break the relationship between Kyle and Claire. However, a big problem is emerging. Although Audra has been assigned an important mission, she has not yet done what Victor asked. The relationship between Kyle and Claire is still strong, unaffected by any conspiracy. This not only makes Victor uncomfortable but also reduces Audra's value in his eyes. For someone like Victor, failure is unacceptable. Victor, who is determined and never gives up, decides to raise the stakes. He no longer wants threats or vague agreements, but wants Audra to actually take action. He has spent a lot of time and resources planning, but Kyle and Claire's continued happiness together has weakened Victor's power in the Abbott household, and that is unacceptable. The situation becomes more tense when Nikki Newman, Victor's wife, accidentally discovers an important piece of information. Claire, whom Victor has always seen as a big threat to his family, has decided to move in with Kyle. This is not good news for Victor. It is a major step in their relationship, and it will surely strengthen Kyle's feelings for Claire. A more drastic move could make Kyle even more attached to Claire, and thus, Victor's entire plan will collapse. Nikki intervenes in order to help her husband regain control. Nikki decides to gently reveal the news that Claire is moving in with Kyle. Nikki thinks that this will create a small but significant change to Victor's plans. However, when this information gets into Victor's hands, he cannot keep calm. This is not a pleasant news for him, and it may be the last straw for his next decisions. Victor urges Audra to act in order to achieve his goals. Victor no longer wants to just wait for events to happen. He decides to increase the pressure on Audra. In order to quickly resolve the problem, Victor begins to give clear orders, requiring Audra to act immediately. He no longer waits, and his words increasingly push Audra into carrying out her plan to destroy Kyle and Claire's relationship. Audra, though ambitious and determined to achieve her goals, is beginning to feel the consequences of failing to complete her mission. She knows that if she doesn't act now, she won't have another chance to prove herself to Victor. However, a big problem is emerging. Audra is not the only one who has influence in this war. Claire, with her own personal reasons and strong feelings for her father, may abandon the plans she had previously built. Cole and Claire's change while Victor is rushing to push Audra to carry out his plan. An unexpected factor appears and changes the situation. Claire's father, Cole, is having serious health problems. This development comes as a huge shock to Claire. She can no longer think only of herself and Kyle. Instead, she began to feel the need to spend more time caring for and being there for her father during this difficult time. The decision to move in with Kyle, although carefully planned, might have been overturned if Claire felt that her father needed her care more than ever. Claire's withdrawal from the plan to move in with Kyle upset the entire strategy that Victor and Audra had built. For Audra, this was a huge blow to her plan. Everything was burned down, and now she was faced with failing to complete the task that Victor had entrusted to her. This would not only affect Audra's career, but also reduce her value in Victor's eyes. With the current situation, Audra will face a difficult decision. She can continue to carry out the plan in a risky way, despite the difficulties ahead, or she can give up and face the failure of Victor's plan. But whatever she decides, one thing is clear: failure will be very expensive. Meanwhile, Claire also faces her choice. Can she continue with the plan to move in with Kyle, or will she choose to spend time taking care of her father? Claire's decision will not only affect her relationship with Kyle, but also a decision that can change everything she has built over the years. The situation in the Abbott family is becoming more and more tense and complicated. With Victor's determination, Audra's push, and unexpected changes in Claire's life, all plans can be turned upside down at any time. For Victor, patience is not something he can easily come by, and if there are no quick results, he will not hesitate to take action to protect his power. As for Audra, she cannot help but worry about her future. Will she complete this mission and prove her worth in Victor's eyes, or will she fail again and lose her last chance to prove herself? This battle has only just begun, and the final outcome is still a big question mark. All the characters are facing difficult decisions, and only time will tell whether the relationship between Kyle and Claire can overcome all the intrigue, or will break under the pressure of the forces around them. Romance and power in Genoa City, Michael, Victor, and questions of loyalty. Genoa City has always been a place of power struggles, complicated relationships, and difficult decisions. Not only is it a city of powerful families where every move can determine fate, but it is also a place of intertwined relationships, tension, and never-ending intrigue. And amidst all this complexity, the story of Michael Baldwin, Lauren Fenmore, Victor Newman, and Victor Newman is one of the most tumultuous. Michael Baldwin has always stood out as a man of reason, but his loyalty to Victor Newman, the powerful tycoon of Genoa City, is a subject of debate. While Michael's wife, Lauren, continues to express concerns about his relationship with Victor, Michael once again affirms that he has complete trust in his boss, and above all, that he believes that he can be Victor's balance in a chaotic world. But is Michael's loyalty to Victor the right decision? And will his insistence on maintaining this relationship lead him to an outcome he will regret? Lauren and her concerns about Michael's loyalty. Lauren's concerns are not unfounded. As a smart and perceptive woman, Lauren knows that Michael's loyalty to Victor could have serious consequences not only for him, but also for their family. She can't help but feel uneasy as she watches Michael become more attached to Victor, who she knows has no tolerance for betrayal. Over the years, Victor has always been above everyone else, and no one can predict his next move. Therefore, Lauren is always worried that Michael might be caught up in Victor's schemes without knowing it, and once that happens, Michael might not only lose his job but also his reputation and career that he has built. Lauren has expressed this concern to Michael many times. She knows that his absolute loyalty to Victor can be a double-edged sword. Although she has always supported her husband, she cannot help but feel that Michael is walking on a path full of dangers that he cannot foresee. However, Michael still does not change his mind. He firmly believes that he can do a good job as a mentor and the one who maintains balance in Victor's life. Michael and his unwavering loyalty to Victor. Michael is a man of strong will. He is not simply an employee of Victor's empire, but he sees himself as the one who brings reason and calm to his boss. He believes that Victor, despite his sometimes brutal ways and methods, still needs the guidance and presence of someone like him. Michael is not one to be easily persuaded by warnings. He knows that Victor is stubborn, a person who many people consider unchangeable, but that is why Michael thinks that he may be the only one who can give Victor rational advice. Although Michael understands Victor's personality, he does not think that this will affect his loyalty. He feels that he can control the situation, can stand in the middle between Victor and those around him, including Victor's great rivals like Jack Abbott. Michael even feels sympathy for Jack and his relationship with Diane Jenkins Abbott. This adds to Michael's conflict, as he not only wants to remain neutral with Jack, but also wants to protect the Abbott family from Victor's revenge. Michael is well aware that his job in the Newman family is not simple. He knows that Victor's decisions are not always rational, but he firmly believes that only he can calm Victor's rages. He hopes that his presence will help ease the tensions between Victor and his rivals, especially Jack Abbott, whom Victor has always considered his sworn enemy. Michael is faced with a life-changing decision. Will he remain loyal to Victor, a man he knows will never forgive betrayal? Or will he stand by Jack and the Abbotts, whom he has always considered friends and business partners, despite Victor's objections? This conflict will not only threaten Michael's career, but also his family relationship with Lauren. Lauren has warned her husband that blind loyalty will lead him nowhere but to heartache and regret. While Michael still believes he can control the situation, the tension between him, Victor, and the Abbotts could push him to a major turning point in his life. The decision Michael will make could be the final one, and one he will regret for the rest of his life. With conflicts and tensions mounting, Michael's future is faced with a painful and risky decision. Will he continue to maintain this conflicted relationship with Victor, or will he find a way to escape his overbearing shadow to protect his family and other important relationships? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain: Michael's life and the lives of those around him will never be the same,